February 6th, 2017. Now, if you're a diehard Falcons fan, I don't need to explain that date to you. But to everybody else, that would be the day that Kyle Shanahan left the Falcons to become the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. And with that one exodus, the Atlanta Falcons had zero talent in their front office or on their coaching staff that could move the needle towards their success. One guy left, and that was it. And since then, the Falcons fans, they've been chasing a false narrative. They can't close out games. They get run down at the end. Everything is New England again, panic moment. Here's the truth behind that narrative. There have been 4 years since Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons. Since he left, the Atlanta Falcons have scored 9.5 points less per game. Let that sink in. Good teams score 27 points a game on the average season. The Atlanta Falcons have been 9.5 points worse without Shanahan. Not surprisingly, since he left, our expectations for the Falcons have been incredibly low. But heading into this offseason, there were 7 teams looking for head coaches. There were 7 teams looking to turn over their staff. And there were 4 candidates that stood out to us. Only one of them was hired. And congratulations, Atlanta Falcons fans, because you were the only one to hire one. Now, there is one game left to be played this year, but there's a lot of turnover happening. There's going to be a lot of roster moves. There's going to be the draft process. And if you want to be prepared for 2021, stick with us. Go down below, hit subscribe, ring the bell, because we're going to be covering everything to get you ready for the 2021 season, all off season, straight on through. The coaching carousel played out this year, and only one team was a no-brainer, surefire success story, and that is the Atlanta Falcons. And it's not only that Arthur Smith is a good coach, but it is how this whole staff came together and how it presents for the Atlanta Falcons, the pieces they have in place, and the rebuild that they have in front of them for their future. The first part of Arthur Smith that is undeniable is the coaching tree that he is on. This is the Rams, Packers, Titans, Bengals coaching tree. Now, the Titans, they're going to be going in a new direction, but when he was there, that was a continuation of the coaching tree. And this is one of the modern channels that is exploding in the league right now. There are a number of coaches from these systems finding jobs, and there is one really big reason for that. This is modern. This takes away progressions. This makes it easier on your quarterback. You have to take note that this scheme maximized Jared Goff. This scheme took a broken Tannehill and made him one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the game. This scheme took Aaron Rodgers back to MVP level. Those 3 teams are in the playoffs. Atlanta, that is your future. This scheme also has an under branch off of it, which is Bill Lazor. Bill Lazor turned Tribb's season around and got the Bears into the playoffs with a lesser version of the offense that you're going to run. And when you run an offense that makes life simpler on your quarterback and can maximize their abilities, you're a head coach. And that's exactly what Arthur Smith is. When you look into this offense, you want quarterbacks with big arm talent. Good news, Atlanta. There's 2 quarterbacks in the draft that are going to be right around that 4th pick that fit that system beautifully. Zach Wilson and Trey Lance. Trey Lance in this system is a gorgeous, gorgeous fit. So the hardest transition from the Matt Ryan era is right at your doorstep right now. You also look at this offense and go, what are the parts that it needs to function? You need a number 1 wide receiver. Well, you got 2 of those. Julio eventually will be moving on, but Ridley is the guy who will be the backbone of the receiving core for this team for a long time. Offensive line is more of a zone blocking scheme. Jake Matthews, McGarry, Lindstrom are already in place. You need to improve the center and the guard position, but that's a small ask. The other thing is you need that number 1 running back. But that could be done as simply as taking Javonte Williams this year. It is one of the most efficient systems in the league. It is one of the easiest cap-demanding systems in the league. And it is a great red zone offense. This was a phenomenal hire. But it doesn't stop there. Because the defensive side of the ball has me even more excited. Why? Because Grandpa Pease is back, man. Dean Pease. Now, when Vrabel was hired as the coach of the Tennessee Titans, we laughed until he hired LaFleur and Dean Pease and said, oh, Vrabel's not going to have to do anything. With coordinators like that, all he had to do was to be a leader of men. He didn't have to coach. Those two coaches could coach on their own. And last year, Dean Pease was out of the league because he retired. Well, here's a little story. Vrabel started taking control of the defense halfway through the 2019 season. We started pointing this out because all the tendencies of a Dean Pease defense started bleeding away and all the Vrabel tendencies started pushing to the forefront. Guess what happened to the Titans defense? It went in the tank. It's because Vrabel's a terrible defensive coordinator, but Dean Pease, he's a good one. He's a real good one. And when you look at the way that Dean Pease lays out his defense, you see a couple pieces that are very important. There are 2 weapons, 2 linebackers, and a free safety that are very important to the success of this scheme. Now, the bodies that you put around the one weapon on the defensive line, they're guys. There's run stuffers, there's kind of gap shooters, but there has to be one monster. You have Grady Jarrett. Mission accomplished. You need one weapon on the edge. Fowler, mission accomplished. On the other edge, you're going to look for kind of a difference between a run stuff, more of a pass rush coverage guy. If you bring in Correa, who Tennessee bounced off to Jacksonville this year, you put that with Michael Walker, that position's accomplished. Correa's not going to cost you a lot of money. But the 2 middle linebackers in this scheme get just responsibility dumped on them left and right. Yeah, Foyesade Oluokun and Deion Jones have that covered. There's only one piece of this defense that is very impactful that the Falcons don't already have, and that's the Kevin Byard free safety who has a ton of range, can come up, play the slot, play that man coverage. And if you want to check off the biggest boxes for the Falcons in year 1, you take Trey Lance or Zach Wilson at 4, and you take Trayvon Moehrig, free safety from TCU, with your first pick in the 2nd round. If you check those 2 boxes off in the first offseason, Atlanta is on a warpath to being a playoff team. This was a phenomenal hire for the Falcons. This is a GM's dream duo because both sides of the ball, the offense and the defense, they have a lot of positions that you can man with bodies, with guys. They're cheap, they're inexpensive. You need your firepower in specific spots. But once you check off that firepower, the guys around it are more glue guys than valuable. You can do this very inexpensively. And in the salary cap era, having efficiency on offense and having it cost effectively and having a weaponized defense and having it cost effectively is one of the cheat codes that allow you to push your team in the right direction. Now, the Falcons do have to wait a little while. There's going to be, I think, a turnover of Julio Jones and Matt Ryan before the 2022 season. I don't believe they can do it now simply because the dead cap numbers are exorbitant. But after this season, Julio becomes a really nice trade chip, and so does Matt Ryan. But if you take Trey Lance or Zach Wilson and you have Ridley, you're already in position to have those 2 move on. And the picks and the value that you get for those players get shoved into this format and sets off a chain reaction, which sends the Falcons back into the playoff hunt. So of the 7 teams that hired coaches this year, folks, look at Atlanta. This is how you do it. They're on the right path, and if their general manager can simply be frugal and hold on to the value that he has, allow some deals to tick off and get on his own cap structure, the Atlanta Falcons are on the right path. They're headed up, and they're going to be a playoff team soon. The disappointment, Falcons fans, is over. You're on the right track. I love you guys. We need you to stay strong, and I'll see you on the other side.